Last week, we got our first glimpse at the game's new look and saw some upsets to kick off summer. Our reigning champions, Team Liquid, hope to make the crowd cheer after a disappointing end to Week 1. We'll see if they can come out on top versus CLG, who want to build up momentum coming out of Week 2. That's our first matchup of the day. Everyone, we've got 5, though, coming your way. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the NA LCS Countdown, where for 30 minutes we preview some heated rematches and parse through the patch until the timer reaches 0 and we jump into Champions Select. Now, after Week 1 of play, we only have 2 teams sitting at the top of the standings with a 2-0. That would be Echo Fox and TSM, followed by 6 teams tied at 1-1, with FlyQuest and 100 Thieves hunting for their first win against each other later in the day. While we're at it, let's look at the other matches we have in store today with the schedule presented by Jersey Mike Subs. First up, we've got Counterlogic Gaming looking to take a game off the champs in Team Liquid, followed by TSM looking to enact revenge against Clutch in Game 2, with Freak, Apollo, and Solo bringing you Game 4 of 100 Thieves versus FlyQuest from the NA LCS Lounge on Riot Games 2. If you're looking for a sub above during our games, visit a Jersey Mike's near you or order online at jerseymikes.com, and be sure to check in later in the split for ways to earn in-game rewards like Hextech chests, skins, and RP when you order online. To get a preview on that first match, just 28 minutes away, let's send it over to Freak and Azael for a breakdown of Liquid versus CLG.
Thank you very much, Dash. Yes, I am Freak. This right here is Isaac Azael Cummings-Bentley. You've got your own cheers. This man is absolutely amazing. I just want to call that one out real quick. But, of course, there's been a lot of craziness happening in the LCS so far. A lot of people are calling non-standard picks. We've seen Super Yees. We've seen, of course, Vladimir's and whatnot in the bottom lane. And what I'm looking for in this match, though, is for teams to settle in on what strategy works best for them. I think they're all viable. You got to find something comfortable for your team and players.
Yeah, exactly. Team Liquid, last week, they looked dominant against 100 Thieves. They lost against Golden Guardians. They showed us 2 very different versions. In the first game, we had Doublelift playing Xayah, looking so in control, really hard carrying that first game. Game 2 was him on the Vladimir pick. They get double killed at level 1 due to kind of some minion wave mismanagement and not really using their relic shield charges to actually get to level 2 before that dive happened.
Sure.
It just is another example of you have to be comfortable with what you're playing. If you're going to play non-standard, show me that you have that comfort. Show me that you have that practice to perform very, very well on it. Otherwise, just stick to what you know, because that's going to be better for you.
Absolutely the case. We can talk about Counterlogic Gaming here as well, because this is a team where there's been so much demand for consistency on this lineup. They have so many good early games and so many just throw it out of the garbage can end games.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's kind of similar to what their struggles were in spring, right? They had a very inconsistent split. They were never really able to gain that consistency. And last week in their loss against TSM, it was kind of more of the same. CLG made some strong early moves that got a good early and mid-game advantage, but they did kind of throw it all away with one poor fight around the Baron, and TSM takes over from there. Game 2 looked great against 100 Thieves, and that was a big improvement, but this is the same roster from spring. We need to see them continuing to improve, continuing to kind of string together victories and showing us that it's not more of the same, that they actually are better than that spring team that missed out on playoffs.
Yep, absolutely the case. We'll see if CLG can put together consistency here against Liquid today. That's what we are looking for in that game until Champ Select. Back to you, Mark and Jat.
Great job, Mark.
Yeah, really doing a lot. Really, Freak? Really, Freak? All right, Mark and Jat, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that specifically, I'm just going to read your part.
I was about to do that. I want to see where you go with this.
For more on the journey CLG and specifically their mid laner has been through over the season, check out Pastry Time's playstyle article about Huhi and the challenges he faces this split.
Wow, I don't even need to do my job anymore. I like it. I'll take over from here, though. That's just Game 1 of the day. Immediately following that matchup, TSM and Clutch Gaming face off in what Solo is hoping to be a budding rivalry.
They look pretty hungry. I mean, obviously they didn't have the best ending to their split last time.
Clutch was the only team in the last spring split that we didn't go 2-1 against or 1-1 against in the mega split. And they also beat us in playoffs pretty hard.
TSM, who's this kind of juggernaut of NA, just keeps on losing to like the dark horse team of Clutch Gaming.
You could say they're our nemesis, but I think they're just a good team and we just played bad against them. I don't think it's like a matchup stylistically that's bad for us. It's just whatever happened.
It seems like we're a little bit of their kryptonite.
There's no like huge mental block going against them, so it's just another match against a top team.
You know, when we play them, they always seem really vengeful. So I think they'll be trying to gun for us really hard, so it's gonna be a tough match.
You got the longest standing, winningest organization in the NA LCS with a rivalry, or what we're now kind of positioning as a rivalry, against a team that was incepted just last split. That seems crazy to me.
Yeah, it's a matchup where you would never have thought that this would be one of the biggest storylines to talk about coming into summer, but it is just because no one expected Clutch to beat TSM in that spring quarterfinals matchup, and they were able to do that, and it kind of birthed a new rivalry out of nowhere. You can see Solo much more lighthearted about it. Sven seemed pretty serious.
I mean, it's because the results of that quarterfinal upset linger all the way towards the summer split. TSM 2-0'd out of the gates, but it's not that big of a story because of the black eye that's still healing from that 1-3 defeat they suffered in the quarterfinals against Clutch, the first time they had never even made the finals.
Yeah, and of course, Clutch Gaming, though, having beat TSM, did get knocked down by Echo Fox as well in the playoffs.
Yep.
So still, what was kind of a great first split for a new organization, tarnished a little bit by that stinging 3-0 loss.
Yeah, definitely something that they're looking to bounce back from. Week 1 was a hit or miss kind of thing where they won one, lost one, and it was just not super impressive. You know, Apollo on that Vladimir was struggling a little bit to get going. Their win over C9 was one where they had a monstrous start with like 3 kills in the first 2 minutes of the game, but still took a while for them to close that one out. So it'd be a really nice bounce back game for them to take down their rivals once again in TSM.
Yeah, and you think of the way that Clutch Gaming has always won, it's never been that flashy. The flashiest wins they have ever had was that one day when they beat TSM in the best of 5. Outside of that, it's just been a bunch of doubt and moxie of winning close games, so to speak. So it takes a lot to really get behind Clutch. But once again, we always say this, if they can beat TSM, that's when you really start taking them seriously.
I don't think, is that still a
Right, but
are we still pushing that?
Time number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 down the line. How many times you got to be a TSM till people start taking you seriously? But within that, the way that Clutch finds wins over TSM, I think we do, especially within, you know, patch 8.11, patch 8.12, World of League of Legends, look for Clutch to find a little bit more of a definitive style, whereas TSM still seems to be holding on to something very specific to the way that they want to play.
Yeah, everything that they're playing, while it does fit in the meta, it's the AP Kaisa, it's the AP Varus, but it's still marksman for Sven. They still largely play the same way because he doesn't seem like someone who's going to want to go out there and play Vladimir and try and all-in you at 6 on a power spike. That's not the kind of player he is. It's not who Apollo is either in my mind, and yet we see them trying to do that. So I think Clutch could learn a thing or two about how TSM is approaching the meta.
All right, with that, we're going to step away for a quick break. When we return, we comb through the details of 8.11, and we hit the streets to hear the fans' predictions for today's games. As we go to break, we listen in on how TSM turned the tables against CLG on our first day of the split.
Oh my god, Myth is watching.
You can do that later.
We have a natural celebrity.
Vincent?
We have a celebrity right next to us, TSM Battle Pass.
They're on another level though.
Wait, what? We can't leave the water bottle here?
No, you can, but not with
No,
on
you
the lid.
can't. You just can't have the cap like open because you can spill it.
What's the cap on? Because we're all babies and we all spill.
It's for me.
Especially Kevin.
It's like the paparazzi, you know, like when you pour some shit.
The paparazzi?
Yeah, you get some money.
The mariachi.
The paparazzi?
I can run behind him right now. Romy's missing right now. I don't know where he is. Okay. You look right now, top.
Yeah,
he's right here. Can you collapse him? Yeah. Fight him.
You can fight John.
I'm here.
We win, right? We win.
Yeah.
I'm coming first. We're fighting topside. Look for TP maybe if you need to.
3 seconds lower. Irelia can't be there first. Irelia can't be there, sir. Under Tribush, Wigan. I'm gonna flash. He's on me. Yeah, I'm gonna be there. We can kill them. I'm really no flash.
I ulted.
I'm gonna kill Irelia first. Okay, you ready to flash? You ready to flash?
TP top if they TP. Yo, that's Kaisa.
Yeah, it's Kaisa. Careful.
I'm back in.
This guy's really easy to kill, Legion. He jumped in.
3 minutes right now.
I'm going on him.
Okay, I'm coming. We're gonna kill our trust, guys. We're gonna
Let's hover bot.
They're gonna slowly close.
Let's go, Dishan.
That's me!
Oh, we're gonna turn on our ulti. They see us doing it.
Yo, watch
Hey,
it.
look at choke.
Okay, I'm looking.
Yo, look. Irelia, it's done.
We're fine. Yo, outside.
They cannot do anything.
Go, Warren.
Run back.
Kite back.
Renekton.
Ah, we come.
Okay, yes, sir. Kevin's back.
I can come back. We win.
Make him TP.
Yeah, I'm gonna look for a turn.
I'm TPing in.
Brom.
Outside other star.
I kill Brom. This is good play.
No flash grapes.
I'll change that.
Yo, kite back.
Yeah, we can kill, guys.
Kaisa.
Toppush.
SRS here.
Kill Renekton. Oh, they weren't all. I'm stunned in 3.
I'm dead. Oh, that's bad. Go zero.
Oh, that's Kevin. What the heck?
We win. Nice. Ornn is walking to Baron right now.
You can even split against Ornn. He has no flash.
Yeah. You can just hover there, everything.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Kai'Sa can take tower in front of Orange.
Yeah.
Just stay this.
There's some people we don't see.
Diving.
Look at Jesper. Look at Jesper.
Smash. Just guys,
Yeah,
smash.
they're not there. They're right here. We should join Jesper. We should join Jesper.
Just end, guys. I don't win very often in LCS.
God, my stats.
14-9, TSM 1-0. Welcome back to the NA LCS Countdown. We're about 15 minutes away from Champion Select for Game 1, and there hasn't been a dramatic shift between patches 8.11 and 8.12, but there are some notable changes when it comes to pro play, specifically the departure of another item from the league shop, Banner of Command.
Any last words?
Tough loss.
Yeah.
That's a tough loss. Banner of Command removed from the game. Mark, in all seriousness, let's talk about what this does change for our pro players, specifically here in the NA LCS, if anything.
I think a lot of people aren't going to super miss the item. I'm glad a little bit that burned out. Not the funnest thing to play against, but it was pretty important in the meta in terms of what it allowed. All those melee comps that didn't really have a way to siege inhibitor turrets. Hey, get Baron buff, get that thing, slap that down. You saw 2 to 3 a game sometimes, and that's how you would take inhibitor turrets. That's gone now, so people are going to need to find a new way with those really low-range comps to be able to do that. Combine that with the marksman buffs for the crit building marksman, and you might see a lot more standard play coming into the 8.12 patch.
Right, not only Infinity Edge, but Storm Razor got a small buff as well. So possibility that marksmen a little bit more legitimized here in 8.12 than they were in 8.11. And while plenty has changed since Spring Split, Jat wants to highlight what's persisted from patch to patch. Take it away.
Hey, thanks, Dash. And this happened in the TSM versus FlyQuest game last week, where you see FlyQuest with a dominant duo lane against TSM, who didn't want to be in that lane any longer. And this is shown pretty evidently early on. When Wild Turtle's about to hit level 6, remember, this is Brand Nautilus, and they have a lot of kill pressure. Sven and Mithy have a very hard time laning against this duo lane. Quan lands the hook, Turtle stuns, gets the full combo off, and Mithy dies. So it's very clear at this point that this isn't a good lane for TSM to be in. FlyQuest tries to use that pressure and go towards Drake. And this is where the fundamentals come in very heavily for TSM, because you just need to swap out of that lane. And I think a lot of times when people are laning against a Brand and a Tom Kench or a Brand and a Nautilus, they might forget that a little bit. So let's see the situation that's happening right here, because Wild Turtle has actually gone back to base and is running back to lane as the Drake is being taken by Nautilus. And this gives the duo lane of TSM an opportunity to go back to base and initiate a lane swap. The rest of TSM has to work in tandem with this, because they have Griggs Trundle, who's in base and needs to run top lane, and also Bjergsen can arrive top lane. And they're going to use the pressure from the Drake timing and Turtle going back to base to get top lane and gank Flames Darius. So let's just watch this play out and see how TSM does it and how FlyQuest responds to it. So one thing that happens is FlyQuest doesn't really sense that it's coming. They're not predicting this whatsoever. So Keen is still cheating towards Drake. All the while, all of TSM is running top lane to set up this gank. So we can see right here on the minimap that there's actually no one on FlyQuest on that side of the map where everyone on TSM actually is. There is Bjergsen getting pinged on a ward, and Grig is also walking over ward at the time. So danger is imminent for Flame, but he doesn't quite realize just how dire the situation is. And based on the fact that none of FlyQuest is actually prepped to take the turret or get any additional objectives beyond the Infernal Drake they killed about 30 seconds prior, means Flame needs to get out of there. Unfortunately for Flame, he's kind of in the wrong spot. He pretty much would already need to be behind his turret by the time he is seen Bjergsen and Trundle coming towards him. So let's just see kind of how dire it is. He does a little bit of a stutter step, probably shouldn't have walked up to that wave. And at this point, he's pretty much already dead. He's trying to save his flash until after the Trundle pillar, but TSM has such numbers advantage that even after Flames flash, they're still able to kill him, and the Nautilus comes in far too late. And the main point of this was more so that the fundamentals of League haven't changed just because you're not seeing marksman versus marksman in the bottom lane, and the TSM can still use the macro play to get advantages in the game. That's a lane that they lost, but they turned it into a kill on top lane Darius and the first turret of the game for about a 2,000 gold advantage.
Right, and it's not some novel idea that, hey, macro is still important or relevant, but it highlights the importance that when so many other things are considered in a crazy state or in a state that has not existed yet before in League of Legends, it almost puts more importance on the fundamentals as your baseline from which you can work from.
Yeah, everyone is talking about all the crazy picks that can come in, but if you're getting countered out in the bot lane or the top lane or whatever it is, there's still ways to break out of the laning phase and get it into this more macro-focused game plan, and this was the perfect example of doing that when TSM is like, oh crap, our bot lane's gonna keep dying from here, let's break it open.
With all of these taken into consideration, I've prepared some over-unders for you guys for this weekend's or today's game. So first up, we're looking at the combined kills per minute, across the games today in the NA LCS. We're putting the line at 0.7. The context, week one's combined kills per minute was 0.72, so just barely over.
I'm going under. Fake out. I pointed up, I'm going down. I'm going under. Yeah, no, I just want to see if I was going to bait you and you're going to be like, yeah, over. No, I'm taking the under on this. I think with that marksman stuff we were highlighting, probably becoming more in the meta, I expect the game to slow down a little bit and not quite be as bloody, whereas a lot of times you're seeing level 1 first bloods from people not understanding matchups. Like Vladimir contributed to 2 deaths 2 minutes into the game.
Yeah, and also around Spring Split, the combined kills per minute was around 0.55. I'm also going under because I do feel like, especially watching NA Academy, which at this point I feel like is a pretty good precursor for what type of picks we're going to see in the NA LCS, it's getting a little bit back to where it was in the spring, and I think for that, the combined kills is going to go down a little bit.
All right, under for both of you on that one. The next one we're looking at is the average game time. We're setting the bar at 32:30. Context on this one, the average game time for week one was 31:42. So again, indexing above, we already talked about some changes, Mark, that might force a longer game time here in week 2.
And that is exactly why I'm going over for this one. Same line of logic. I think the game will slow down. I think people will return to a lot more comfort picks and they know how to play the game out from there. Less deaths in lane, less snowballing all around, the changes that came in. All that indicates to me a slower game time coming up.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go under because I think there's a few competing factors. A, the over-under is set higher than the average time was last week. Yep. And also I think as the split progresses, we usually see games trend downwards as teams get a little more polished in how they close out games. But it's a tough one because banner being removed and what I think the potential for a few more wave clear picks to come back could slow it down. I'm just going to edge under.
And while we talk about some changes that perhaps made marksmen more viable, the last category we have here for the over-unders is the number of marksmen that will be picked. We're putting the line at 12.5. Context is that there were 12 marksmen chosen within week one's games. I will throw this out there. Marksmen picked in any lane will still count towards this number. So if you have a Kai'Sa jungle, still considered to be a part of this number.
But Graves doesn't count, correct?
Graves does not count.
Doesn't count. All right, so I'm going to go over. I think just more marksmen in general will be seen in the bot lane, as well as the fact that you count the Kai'Sa. If anyone finally does a super gold funnel strategy here in North America, we'll probably see one of those there.
Yeah, we even saw Lucian mid getting funneled over in Europe. I'm going to go over as well, mainly because of the poor play I saw on non-marksmen by the marksman players.
Everyone's scared off now?
Yeah, kind of, because even in the LCK where I felt like their non-marksman bot lane play was better, they're still actually trending a little bit more back in that direction because of things like wave clear and like reliable late game that I think NA teams are going to jump on.
Yeah, do you double down on the non-marksmen and try and learn them even more, or do you go back to comfort and go back to what you know? That's a question left for our teams to determine. If you need some help combing through the numbers of the patch, tune into the Freak Show, though, where David Freak Turley crunches the numbers and how those numbers might impact pro play. Before we hear from the two of you weigh in on the matches, let's hear who the fans believe will succeed today.
All right, so for the first game of the day, I have CLG, and they're going to stomp Team Liquid with our boy President Darshan here.
I'm going to have to give the edge on Clutch Gaming for that one.
I got to go Echo Fox. I think Huni's going to go toe-to-toe with Power of Evil in the mid lane. so I'll go for that.
100 Thieves. I'm going to pick 100 Thieves for that one. They've been kind of in this slump lately, but I think this is the week where they can pull it back and hopefully bring it back and do way better this week. So
Golden Guardians, because Cloud9 is having some roster issues right now. And Golden Guardians did pretty good against TL last week, so they should have some sort of advantage because they are on a winning streak.
Thoughts from some of our fans in attendance today. I want to compare those to your guys' predictions as you've laid them out here for week 2, day 1. You two entirely aligned across all 5 games today.
Stop copying my homework.
But that highlights 3 major differences between you guys and the fans, being in those first 2 games and the 5th game of the day.
Classic mistake by the CLG fan, though.
Believing in them,
you can't predict CLG.
Garshawn's going to lose the game for him.
Yep.
Yeah, the Clutch Gaming one also, if you're basing it off of what happened in Spring Split, would make sense, but I'm all in on TSM this split after like 2 games.
I like it. I like it. Commitment.
I think the closest one for me was surprisingly actually the 100 Thieves FlyQuest one.
Yeah.
Both teams haven't looked great.
Winless teams.
Yeah, haven't looked great. And it is a better patch, I guess, for Cody Sun, who was their all-pro bot laner, but it does feel like FlyQuest has done better in the meta thus far. At least they're trying things, and they have the ability to surprise them. So I almost flip-flopped there, but I did stay with 100.
All right, well, Mark, there was one person counting on your support. So let's go ahead and take a listen to this real quick, see if you want to change your predictions.
But my boy Mark Z always has our back. I figured it out. He was only hating on us so we would get better. But now he always has our back.
Yeah.
Is that true, Mark?
Yeah.
You were hating on them because you knew they could get better and you wanted them to get better?
100%.
Have they shown you what they need to show you in order for you to flip-flop on your prediction?
No, I'm still betting against them.
Withdrawing your support.
I just think it's amazing.
I'm still
Mark
betting
is the
against
one
them.
getting all the flack for Clutch Gaming.
Listen, it's early in the split. I can't vouch for them yet. They need to lose a little bit early.
Right, they gotta beat TSM, as we said. Yeah, that's how you gotta beat TSM to be legitimized.
So I'm saying they're gonna lose today, so they win, and then I can take the credit.
And then from that point onward, you can go ahead and take their side. Jack, anything else to add in there on the predictions game? There was a fan prediction for Golden Guardians citing their win over Team Liquid, which was our most dominant and fastest win of the summer split so far. But again, a lot of people still look at Team Liquid as a team that, as the reigning champions, index too strong for most to take.
Exactly, and what happens early on in the game can decide the game more so than it did last split. And Golden Guardians had a lot of early advantages that they were unable to close out last year. So still, I'm gonna side with Cloud9. Fans got a good argument.
Even with the roster.
And predicting these games, Mark and I are at 60% currently.
Crushing it.
Crushing it. We will win every best of 5 with those percentages.
That's exactly
It'll be very hard-fought best of 5.
We will not predict every game.
They're all very tough.
It's really difficult to not only predict games early in the season, but also with the volatility we're seeing in the meta right now. It makes it all the more exciting to see it revealed.
All right, well, with that, let's turn back to game 1. Kane hopes adding more practice will fix Team Liquid's trip-ups from last week.
Thanks, guys. I just spoke with Coach Kane, who says that the team is ready to bounce back after their loss against the Guardians last weekend. They identified their strengths, and they are working hard to address them, going back into triple blocking for scrims and playing a lot more solo queue. When it comes to the meta, they're less concerned with trying to figure out what the other teams are going to play against them and more focused on their own strengths and play styles. For their match against CLG today, they're aware that CLG is a pretty good team, but they still can't take down Liquid. Back to you guys.
Stepping up on the amount of practice, also honing in the practice to focus more on their style, their champions. With that in mind, ahead of game 1, we've got Team Liquid here. Jack, I'm starting with you. Win conditions for that squad.
Yeah, I mean, Kane mentions sticking to comfort picks. I think that's how COG succeeds as well. So TL's win condition is to try and remove the comfort from COG. I think they like counter picking for who he's large champion pool. Your red side, if you're TL, you get to have that last pick for mid lane. And Braum and Ezreal, I think, are 2 of the best picks for COG's bottom lane right now and are 2 bot lanes that Team Liquid is perfectly capable of playing. So those are the big targets I'd have for TL and draft.
All right, Mark, you're the CLG side of this conversation.
I think what we saw in week 1 pretty much identified Team Liquid's strength. Still, they play around Doublelift, so they should prioritize their bot lane matchup here and make sure they find a good one for Stixxay and Biofrost. When Doublelift looks out of his comfort zone, it suddenly is much easier to beat Team Liquid. Also, flex on them, but not in a show-off way, but just literally they have a lot of champions that they can flex between. Darshan and Huhi actually set those up because on blue side, you're going to want to avoid getting counter-picked heavily, and you can basically give them one because they have that with the last pick in the draft, but by having more things flexed before then, you can probably get Impact to just default to some safe blind champion.
Alrighty, that's going to do it for the countdown. Time to toss it out to the boys in the battle arena to get us into the games. Enjoy.